everyone. Good evening. Jason here with Phase Shift Games.
Darren here as well with Phase Shift Games.
Scott Smith, designer with Phase Shift Games.
And thank you all for joining. I mean, God, I don't know when the last time the three of us were able to do a live stream together. So this is awesome to have us all together. I see a bunch of friends from the community on already. I think we got Brad, we got Joshua, Green 404, where it is 1:30 in the morning, wherever you are, must be France or Germany. So thanks for joining, and hopefully this is going to be a fun dive through today. We got a great set of community submissions, and that's the purpose of tonight. We're going to dig into those with you and give you all our thoughts and commentary. But before we get into that, just wanted to quickly go over a couple things. First of all, you know, we're midstream. For those who are new, kind of watching along, figuring out what the heck we're talking about. Darren, Scott, and I have been launching and running this campaign for Drop Drive on Kickstarter. Scott is the designer of the game. Darren and I have picked it up as Phase Shift Games, and it's on Kickstarter now. We're less than a week in. It's going fantastic. I think we are just about to turn that all-important six-figure number, get into the 100K range, so that's exciting. Over 1,000 backers. It's going really, really well, and there's a lot of excitement for this subject matter, this science fiction universe that we've created. So thank you all to everyone who's here with us, who's been on the journey. We love you guys, and we love being part of this, you know, kind of building this community with you all and engaging with you. Certainly Scott and Darren, I'm sure same sentiment.
Yep. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Something that we've done since day one with the first campaign for Dungeon Drop, and then the second campaign for the expansion. We just it's something that I think we feed off of it, right? Like, I know for me, I get my energy. Listen, I was exhausted. I was literally asleep on the couch watching a movie with the family earlier, and now I'm like alive. You know, it's just
ready to go.
This energy's awesome. Getting this from the community.
So, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think I may have said it in the Dungeon Drop, but I mean this. You know, people ask me that don't really know about Kickstarter or what I'm doing here. You know, and when I try to explain, like, oh, we launched these games that people aren't going to get for like upwards of a year, and you get that confused look on their face. Why would they do that? Why not just buy a game in a store? This is like one of the things I go to. I'm like, well, let me tell you about what we do during the campaign. It's not like buying a game in a store. It's for a month. We're all part of this together. And it's really, I think something special.
And like what we're going to do tonight is people who are actually interested in the game are going to get to give us thoughts on stuff. So the actual game that they get may have their fingerprints in it. You know, so their ideas meeting with our ideas. So they're really not only financially a part of bringing it into reality, but actually some of their thoughts and creativity is going to be a part of the game as well, and that's something you don't get by just walking into a store and buying a game, which is fun too, because I've done that too. But that is one of the appeals of that offsets, as you said, the fact that you have to wait for it to come out. The instant gratification is offset by the fact that you're participating in the development.
Yeah, indeed. So we got reports that there were some echoes from you too. But now they're saying the echo's gone. What I did was I muted one of the two Skype streams. I got both of you in on Skype. Scott, can you just talk again really quick, and let's make sure that they can still hear your voice.
All right. Hopefully I don't have an echo.
All right. So Josh, Green, if one of you can mention that you were still able to hear Scott, that would be great. In the meantime, I'm going to continue on with the intro. Actually, it's not so much of an intro anymore. So campaign in progress, going really well. Thank you all, for folks that are here. And Josh said we're good to go with the audio, so great. Awesome. Okay. So there's a couple topics in addition to the point of tonight, which is to get into the Anomaly, the ancient interstellar gate network. But before we do, there's two topics in the game that you guys haven't heard a lot about. You know that there are these captain encounters, and you've seen a prototype on the campaign page for what it might kind of look like. It's a really hacked together prototype. You're about to see, as soon as we crack that next stretch goal, you're going to see a new stretch goal image, and you're about to see what the captain cards are going to look like, or at least much, much closer to it. Really nice looking. And I wanted Scott to take a moment to go through the design of that, because it has this really cool inspiration. So we're going to have Scott do that in just a second, talk a little bit deeper about the captain encounters. You have heard some of the reviewers cover them a little bit, which is good, but still not a ton, because that was a later addition to the game. But then there's another topic, which are the concept of these edge worlds, which is the flip side of the planet tiles. And you know nothing about that. So, and we're still working out some of the details, but we want to give you a better glimpse into that, because it's another whole layer in this game that you don't even know about yet. It's just so great how many layers there are. So, Scott, let's start with Captain Encounters. What was the inspiration? How does it work? Why is it so cool?
Sure. Yeah, and it is kind of crazy. We're still talking about things that even in our carefully crafted campaign page, there's aspects of the game that still there's a lot to say about. So the Captain Encounters are something that was designed as an answer to, back in the older versions of the game, players would go about their business, but when they encountered each other, we basically didn't have people encounter each other. And when we're doing playtesting and stuff, people definitely wanted that experience. If you encounter another player's ship, what happens? That was a big unanswered question. So, we threw around, some basic ideas. You could have a little battle with each other or something. But, I think our whole design team is not really about just that kind of straight up take that, like hunting people down kind of thing. So we wanted something else. And my mind kind of drifted back to something I'd played around with, just probably trying to create some other game prototype at one point, which was the concept of the prisoner's dilemma in philosophy, where you've got a couple of thieves that have been caught, and they're being interrogated in separate rooms, and they're offered the same deal in private, which is if you rat out your partner, you can come out pretty well in this. But if you keep your mouth shut, that's they're threatening you with that. But if your partner keeps their mouth shut too, you're really gonna make out well. And you can create this kind of little grid of possibilities. There aren't that many possibilities, right? Either you both keep your mouth shut, or one of you doesn't and rats on the other, or you both rat on each other, and then it's a whole nother scenario. But there's only 4 of these combinations. So I thought it could be a cool thing, because in I don't know, just like Alien, I love alien encounters, kind of just as a concept, where you're meeting up with some mysterious ship or something, and you have no idea. I love that in Star Trek. You don't know where the other ship is coming from. Are they a warlike person? Can you trust them? And we came up with a way to do this just in one kind of double-sided token. Basically, when you encounter a ship, you secretly choose a stance. Are you going to go in with good intentions or bad? And you reveal at the same time, and you have a number of possible outcomes that are represented right on the tiles. To see how this worked out. If you both went in with good intentions, you both get a little something. If you both try to cheat each other out, you might end up in some kind of battle. So there's a whole little kind of tiered reward system that depending on how you go into it. And I know we got excited about this with Dungeon Drop. Anything that can create some more table talk at the table, it can be a lot of fun. So anyway, I'm really excited about it.
Well, I fell in love with this right from the beginning. First of all, I love the 4 combinations, and I love that there's a psychological element, and you're trying to decipher what the opponent might do. based on what they did the previous 4 times and so on. But not only that, what I really, really love is, I think you just said it, the table talk. The, hey, I'm coming your way. Should we maybe just try to do a trade? And you can almost negotiate ahead of time. But it's not binding because secretly now we choose and one of them might betray the other. I just love that. And it's so simple. There's no like deck of cards and all these rules. It's just my token on this side or this side covered, and then you reveal.
And also the one of the, I think we mentioned it last time, that people were talking about having wanting to know who you were in the world. Like, yes, you have a ship, but who were you? You know, and then so this kind of solved those two things at once. You get to interact with each other, and now you have an actual, you know, captain. That this is me. This is my character. This is who I am in the world in that ship, and then so that is what's on the token that you show either side of. So it really, the whole thing kind of coalesced into one solution for the whole situation, which was really awesome.
Yeah. And I do love the story of the inspiration. I wasn't aware. I did take a couple philosophy classes. They were some of my favorite classes in college. I don't remember that particular conundrum, but I do love those philosophical kind of debates and arguments. And really, really cool. I love that you were able to bring that into the game.
I don't know if you know this or not, too, but the my son and my wife are big Survivor fans, the TV show Survivor, and the new season just started, especially because I think they had a postponement after Rona and all that. So they were really, really excited. And this particular season, they're doing a lot of new things. And one of the new things they're doing is they send 2 people off from 2 different tribes up this mountain. They get to know each other, and they come down, and then they have to do essentially this prisoner's dilemma, where I won't go into all the details of the specific things they get or don't get, but they have to do that same thing where they each say yes or a no, and if they both say yes, they both say no, or only one says yes. It's the same thing, and I was thinking that was so cool that was coming out this season, and it was the exact thing that we were already had playing through. I thought it was great.
That's awesome. All right, let's move on to the next topic so we don't blow too much time here. So the next topic is, you've all seen a bunch of the preview videos that are out there from the different reviewers, and some of them mention that, I think they're working on something on the flip side of the planets with some advanced pirates or advanced Edgeworld stuff. And there indeed have been a lot of different things that we've played with over the months and still playing with. So we're calling them Edgeworlds. They will be in the game. There isn't, we don't have anything to show yet, but Scott, you could definitely explain the latest kind of what they're turning into with some of the different market concepts and the other facilities and so on.
Yeah, and all this was folded very much into the graphic design of the planets too, making sure we had enough space to let everything breathe, that we weren't over cluttering it, because we can come up with more and more ideas, you know. But the Edgeworld side, basically, so each planet would be a double-sided card, right? And thematically, there's the homeworld. It has a larger market. The Edgeworld has a slightly smaller market. You can only sell a couple of things there, so it kind of tightens up the market possibilities. Sort of forces just a little bit more movement around the system that way. They're not quite as forgiving. But at the same time, that kind of graphically frees up a little space, and we knew we wanted to use it for something. And the latest iteration of this that I'm really enjoying is what I'm calling right now facilities. It's like a very particular to each planet, each individual planet type of sort of market facility you can take advantage of when you're there. An example would be one of the planets having a sort of fuel depot that allows you to maybe just like spend 1 credit to collect the nearest drop fuel cube. So this obviously, when you visit that planet, you also have this opportunity to grab a little fuel for your drop drive. And I really like this in testing because there's this little extra thing to think about which planet you want to visit for this reason. if you have a strategy where you're using your drop drive a lot, it becomes a little more enticing to visit a planet like that. We have another one. One of my facilities is sort of a, right now, like a cantina, Star Wars inspired thing where you actually may get an extra opportunity to have one of these captain's encounters that we were just talking about, and meet up with another captain, even though your ships aren't occupying the same space. So essentially, they'd each have this really individual flair to visiting that particular world.
In addition to different markets, right? Like it wouldn't just be the same 3 asteroids that it purchases. Right. It might purchase fewer asteroids, and the numbers might be different that they offer.
Yes. Yeah. I was saying that they're more limited markets. Yeah. They don't have as many types of asteroids you can sell, and like you're pointing out, we also playing around with some different market fluctuations. Yeah, absolutely.
So there will be the edge worlds. They will have different markets. The facilities we've been playing with, really cool. Yeah, there's going to be like 5 different ones for those 5 base planets. And then, of course, Anomalies can bring in other facility ideas, and there can be little tokens associated with them that you plop down on a planet. And now when you go and visit that planet, you get that additional facility option or choice, as you're going through. Some really, really cool possibilities there. All right. Anything else on either of those topics before we get into the main attraction for the night?
Sounds good to me.
No, let's do it.
All right. I am going to switch the view over to the screen share, and basically you should be seeing now Board Game Geek. So Anomalies, I guess maybe just to quickly once again preface what these anomalies are. They shouldn't be a surprise for any of you that are here, since the whole point is to discuss them. But at the top of this thread here, I kind of reminded that basically anomalies are our way of doing literally anything in this drop drive universe. Because an anomaly is something, there's one token, there's 3 of them, but one standard anomaly token that gets dropped in the system, up to 3 of them based on how many you want in the game. You drop them in the system at the start of the game, and then it's up to the players. If a player wants to go and explore an anomaly, they'll go with their ship and touch and encounter one of those anomaly tokens. They're scanning, and they will discover what that anomaly is. Or no one may go to them. They might focus. You might just have your ship really geared for delivering passengers. You want to focus on that strategy. Very organic. But if somebody does decide to go and explore an anomaly, you're going to draw from a deck of cards. They're going to be, we think, poker-sized cards, a standard deck. And the card itself will basically say what the rules are. What is it doing in this universe? Is it imploding the sun into a black hole? Is it introducing this interstellar gate network across all the planets? Is it some? Oh, sorry about my dog. Is it some UFO that is entering into the system and visiting, and abducting? I don't know. I'm making it up on the fly, but anything can happen. And these things, unlike Dungeon Drop, where we did a lot of community designed races and classes and so on, here the rules are not nearly as restrictive because it can be anything. So it can incorporate new ship tokens. It can incorporate cards that get added to the Explore deck. It can incorporate something truly unique. Like we mentioned on a previous live stream, where we're going to have the Dyson Sphere, which is going to be a ring that you sit around the sun. And it might have places that your ships can dock with the ring around the sun and harness the power from the core. So you can imagine that all these unique, rich thematic ideas can start to emerge from this anomaly system. And for that reason, I know the 3 of us are stupidly excited about what these can become.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
So that may be the last time I do that kind of preamble. This is the first one that we're going to deep dive into, and we're going to do this probably 3 more times throughout the campaign with the future submissions. But just wanted to reset the stage because it is so awesome what can come out of these. So we did the vote for what were the top favorite science fiction universes, and I don't have that list immediately in front of me, but I think what rose up to the top were Fifth Element, which is so cool, and unexpected, Stargate, Star Trek, and The Expanse. Right, those were the top 4, and then there's another 20 below it, so there were a lot of
other ones,
a lot of favorites there that got a ton of votes, and we might pull from some of those other universes as well. But the idea was that you, the community, are going to be submitting your interesting ideas. You don't have to have full rules fleshed out and all the details fleshed out. You can leave that heavy lifting to us, but give us the thoughts, and you're about to see, because so many good thoughts came out of this. And give us these kind of thematic, like, wouldn't it be cool if there was a puddle jumper, which is from the Stargate universe, and you're able to send it out and go collect cargo and bring it back to your ship. Like, wicked cool and totally thematic for this universe. Meanwhile, there's also this whole gate network and all that stuff. So that's what we hoped would come out of this, and that's what is coming out of this. So with that, what's interesting is Darren and Scott are not quite as versed in the Stargate universe as I am. I'll put this little seed out in the universe. So I've seen every single episode of all of it, all 3 series. I've seen the 2 or 3 spin-off movies that were not good. The original movie was great.
Yes, and I have seen the original movie.
That I saw as well.
The original movie's fantastic and classic. And then obviously SG-1, Atlantis, and Stargate Universe. So I have a lot of knowledge that I can pull from here, which is great. I'll help carry the team. But then when we get to something like The Expanse, I have not yet caught up on that, and I'll depend on these guys. All right, so I threw out, some things to think about in the universe, the ancients, the material that the gate network's built out of, the Naquadah. There's Asgardians and Jaffa and Tok'ra, all these different cultures. There's the big bad, the Goulds, the Replicators, the Ori, and the Wraiths. The pyramid ships and the Daedalus and the Atlantis are like the different technologies in the universe. So there's all these different cool things that we could pull from just to kind of get everyone's juices flowing. And then we started getting submissions. So the 3 of us have gone through and reviewed these individually, and now we are going to talk about each one. And I will say, and at the end we'll talk more about this, but something came out of this that I didn't expect that I think is really, really cool. But you might start to pick up on it as we go. So the first one is Alexander Lambert's idea of the puddle jumper expansion. By the way, of course, in the end, when we put these things in, we're probably not going to use the exact phrasing that was used in the originals because licensing.
Right. This is all inspiration.
We might call it the puddle skipper. I don't know. And I'm sure puddle jumper is not a trademark term. We probably could use it. There's just only so far we want to ride the line.
And sometimes we can have a lot of fun, bringing these things into our universe.
Yes,
I think the death dodecahedron was a good example.
Oh, right. That was priceless. Who came? That was someone on our Discord, right?
Yes, it was.
Love that. All right. Well, the whole idea here is that in Stargate you've got these little shuttles. They're like Star Trek with the shuttlecraft that go down to the surface and stuff. This was Stargate's version of that, called puddle jumpers. And but they could go in space. They could go. They could fly in the sky. They could go underwater. And the idea that you have this and you could send it out to go collect cargo and bring it back to your ship. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a simple idea in a lot of ways, but one that could totally work with the game system for sure. Right. It could have its own rocket drive length or something along those lines.
Yep. I thought of already several ways mechanically that it could maybe weave in. It could be a ship upgrade that's just added to your ship with a cargo spot on it, but it has a special rule that, like, after your rocket drive, you can collect something from within 3 links or something. Like, it's going out 3 links and coming back.
Yeah, that's
something,
really cool.
Yeah, something like
Because this way you don't have to. You just have to skim near something. Now you don't have to directly go over it. Because sometimes that bend might take you. Like if you want to land on a planet, and that bend might make you just shy of it. But if you have this thing, you can just go near it. Yeah, that sounds like that's a cool way of doing it.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Now the Alexander here mentions letting it go and land on a planet for you. That could have maybe some bigger implications to the rules, but that could theoretically be something to consider here as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I thought that was great. Let's keep going. Oh, and I kind of commented right away because he was saying, there's not much to this. It's just a little ship, maybe a little card or whatever. But I'm like, that is a great point because and this is the thing that I said kind of surprised me, and I think emerged here is, I think when we get to the bottom of this, there are things that we could pull. We could pull this plus some of the other things into a package, all as part of this one Anomaly pack. It doesn't have to just be a puddle jumper and that's it. Like you got one card and it's like, why was that the whole Anomaly? Like it doesn't need to be. It can just be part of the pack, part of the theme, part of the universe that we're pulling in, but not the main piece.
Yeah, and Jason, this brings up a really good point too. One of the design priorities here will eventually be to bake in some kind of organic benefit for the player that discovers the anomaly.
Yes.
Because a lot of these will certainly change the world in some way, and we're really excited about how it might do that. But we wanted to try to bake in at least some small incentives or potentially large incentives to having that adventurous spirit and discovering one of these things. So, just to throw out an example of how that might work, if we eventually create this little, Stargate and Anomaly pack, it could be that the person that discovers the Stargate gets the puddle jumper upgrade.
Yeah.
Right? And so the universe has been changed because maybe now there's this big gate, but nobody else but the player that discovered it actually gets this very special upgrade.
I love it. Or maybe there's two. That person gets one, and then one more gets shuffled into the deck or something.
Yep.
Lots
absolutely.
of possibilities. All right, Joshua McCartney, who I believe is watching along with us this evening. Unlock the Stargate. So I think you're about to see now a few of these that all revolve around this idea of a puzzle. That the Stargates are this ancient puzzle that you're trying to figure out. There's symbols, there's combination locks and rotation of gears and things like that. And I think a few of these kind of play into that. So he says a flat spinner wheel with 3 discs that maybe spin in different directions, that have symbols on them, and each player can spin them. And if you get matching symbols, kind of like a jackpot machine or a slot machine, you get a bonus there. I don't know how you do a spinner that actually has like free, like the Wheel of Fortune where you spin it and it spins for a while. That might be difficult, but the idea of the combination lock, using these discs and the different symbols and somehow getting a bonus if you can get the right combination of symbols.
Yeah, I guess one way is like if you have like 3 layers almost, 1, 2, 3, and they can spin, and then theoretically you can even just roll the dice for each one, and then whenever you roll the dice, it can click over that many, 1, 2, 3, the next one goes 4, whatever. Just different ideas. Just occurred to me this second, really.
Yeah, it's also possible that something like this could become some kind of little, little rondelle mechanism, where like you get a benefit, you've got a little marker that goes around the edge of this gate or something, and you have your choice of any of the next 3 spaces benefits, and but once you take it, if somebody else goes to the gate, as this thing spins around, you get different possible benefits. I don't know.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of interesting potential. I just like the idea of the spinner and circles, using that very physical. I mean, when I think of Stargate, that's like, well, there's the pyramid, but then there's just that gate, that circular gate itself is just so iconic. And I think if we could use that in some way, it'd be awesome.
I love that. All right, let's move on. Thomas Ganser, and I think Thomas follows up further down below with a follow-up to this point. I think like Thomas here. because he gets into the hidden like espionage and the politics of the stuff. So he's saying his favorite part is the Goa'uld, which are the main enemy in the universe. That their reign is by suppressing knowledge and technology. It's a reign of fear and terror. And they subjugate planets across the universe, right? So starting the revolution by educating people on the planets and supplying them with technology would be an epic quest, an epic Stargate SG-1 like quest. Very cool. We'd have to really put thought into what does this mean rules-wise? What would we do? How would you educate the people on the planets, and what would happen? But I do like the concept of focusing more on that, not politics, but just the overarching tyranny that's happening.
Yeah, and it's a really, I think this gets to a different kind of angle on things, where instead of introducing some fancy new piece to the game like what we were just discussing, this is more like a kind of like a quest within the game. And I think that's something that's come up just in our own fun conversations about the potential for the anomalies. They could be a lot of fun, just as like a sort of overlaying a little storyline to your game, and something that I think could be really fun down the home stretch too is you can imagine having more than one anomaly in a game, and how these overlapping stories might get really unique. Like each one is inspired by a particular kind of sci-fi trope, but we could get our doomed dodecahedron like approaching a planet and is going to blow it up, and the Stargate's on it. Like I don't exactly know how that's going to overlap, but it could be very cool.
Yeah.
Also, this just made me think too of the salvage. Like it might be interesting too if something comes out, the salvages themselves, some of them might be like a salvage of an ancient relic itself, instead of just like you pick up a deck and see what the item is. It might be maybe you have to get like 3 salvages together, and you piece them together, and they can work with this mystery somehow. It's just another thought.
Well, to that point, just again to help people's creative juices flow a little bit more. So Darren, absolutely nothing's to say that some anomaly can't come out that says now salvage, instead of just drawing a card from the Explore deck, here's a new deck. And maybe it's small. I'm not saying like 80 cards here, but like here's a deck of 10 cards, and that's the new salvage deck. And to your point, the more you salvage, the more you get draws from this deck, and you're trying to get the set of things together or something.
Yeah,
love that.
Yeah,
love that. All right, back to Josh McCartney here. Since the focus is more to theme and less open parody mechanic. Oh, so I think Joshua here was just pulling random ideas together around the idea of pirates and ways to make more interesting pirates. Not necessarily even themed to Stargate, but maybe some could be. So, the most wanted pirate, one per planet. So basically, like you attach this pirate, this most wanted pirate to a random planet, and it replaces that normal pirate and the mechanic, and it would just have new pirates.
He's got some awesome pirate ideas in here. I read through this, and they're really neat. That Uzo one I like too, that was like attaching itself to one of the ships. I love that idea.
Yep.
And he's actually getting them maybe a little ahead of where we are. we will venture into this territory a little bit, I think.
Yes. Yeah, well, because we definitely wanted right along to have the option for pirates with more teeth to them, because right now the pirates are a little bit more scavenger like, where they just go around gobbling up asteroids. But and Joshua gets to this here, like some of these can go after players and steal their credits. Some of them can go after fuel and take the fuel as the bounty. This one here takes items from the first ship that they encounter. This one takes specimens from somewhere, players or So all different things that could happen with pirates, and then they could all be themed to the different universes. So in this case, Stargate, I do think further down there's a wicked cool idea for the pyramid ships. We'll get there. I don't know if in this game or in this universe, what would be the closest thing to a pirate they were usually factions of enemies, like the replicators and the ghoul. They're like huge factions. I don't remember like named specific characters. Maybe that like one replicator hero or something. But anyway, yeah, there's some really cool ideas in there for pirates. All right, now we get another puzzle for the Stargate. Exploring an anomaly, you then drop 5 Stargates into the universe, numbered from 1 to 5. So maybe they're like little tokens, numbered 1 through 5. They look like little Stargates, and they're all scattered around the system. And if you fly into one, you roll a d6 to see where is that going to lead you, and it's going to take you out of one of the other ones, or if you roll a 6, you get to choose. So basically a simple portal system, which is what the Stargates are.
Yep.
So a nice, simple, easy thing to do there.
Yep.
Yeah, it's cool thematically that, the gates can somehow, I don't know, be rearranged. I think we might even be able to take that another step farther, some way to manipulate, like, what the network is, over the system. Maybe you have a little bit of control over it, or the player who discovers it can establish a certain kind of network they want through the system or something.
Yep. Or the player who discovers it can just choose. You can choose where they go.
Yeah.
Everyone else
doesn't have to roll the die.
Yeah, they have the nav charts. That's super valuable. And by the way, for your two's benefit, I don't know if this... Yeah, so this didn't happen in the movie that you guys saw, but in the series, there were Stargates just floating in space. There were Stargates that were submerged underwater on water planets. So, like, they did not just have to be standing in some control room on a planet. They were all over the place. All right. Use the Stargate to dial a certain system's other gate. So, once again, 5 tokens, 1 per planet, 1 ship to be dropped. Destiny. So, Destiny was the ancient ship from Stargate universe, and that's where basically they found the ship, they took it over, the human crew, and then they started all sorts of infighting. There was a lot of human versus human stuff going on in that series. But anyway, so they are dropping Destiny in the universe here as well as a ship with a token. Then roll your die 1 through 6. It connects Stargates of that number, so similar to the one above. If you end your turn on a planet or touching Destiny, you can move yourself to the gate corresponding to the value that you rolled. If this takes you to another planet, you can take another cell action, but don't do other things. Possible add-on if it's too powerful. Okay, so yeah, another system of similar, a bunch of gates that you can navigate through.
Yeah, they're pretty much on the same page.
Yep.
All right. Chris Wraith, she, I'm sorry, I don't know genders here, but had submitted many ideas in previous campaigns, so it's good to have you with us again. Open gates, open trades. Let me see if I can remember this one. Okay, so I think the idea here is
technologies.
Yes, because the gates are connecting planets together. When I sell my asteroids to a planet, I'm not just affecting that planet's market. Maybe I can put that market demand token on a different planet because they're all connected via the gate network. I actually like that idea a lot.
Yeah, that's cool.
An
ancient... And then, it's a whole bunch of different technologies and stuff.
Okay, so allow you to land on a planet to flick the planet after all actions have been taken. Ancient technology. Gravity shift. This one was nuts, and I like it. So whenever the anomaly is activated by a player moving over it, choose a planet. Until the next round, all redrops happen over the planet instead of over the sun.
That's cool.
I think the reference here was to an episode of Stargate where the gates were held open because of some glitch. Or because of the power of like a black hole or something, and it affected the gravity on the planet Earth because the gates were held open to this area where there was this giant black hole, and it totally shifted how gravity worked on the whole planetary scale.
That's awesome. Yeah. But I also I love that's whether it's the perfect place for it or not, just taking, seeing that aspect of the game like that, the sun right now is where you drop all redrops, and shifting where that might be is a very cool concept.
Yep. Technology horde. So all the pirates start to target this technology like nexus all of a sudden instead of their normal targets. And then they gobble up money, they gobble up credits, and that's maybe the bounty, and so you can kill them and get their credits now instead of the asteroids. They'll try to escape and go back to their home planet and unload and then come back. So different way that pirates would work. Armada, 5 alien ships, one of them designated as a flagship. They'll move to the closest planet, or the planet closest to the flagship. When they reach it, they occupy it, which changes the economy. Oh, yeah, the planet's flipping to the other side, so the markets completely shift in the middle of the game, which normally wouldn't happen. And then they move on to the next planet. And then, unrelated Star Wars idea, might come out later, Sun Crusher. Basically a ship at the edge of the board, moves 3 links towards the sun, and when it finally reaches the sun, it detonates, it explodes the sun, ends the game. I don't know if that means, like, everyone loses. or whoever had the most credits at that point, but maybe it's an everyone lose scenario, and someone has to go and defeat it by rolling whatever, some big number.
That's kind of interesting. It's sort of like everybody, if I'm reading it correctly or whatever, like it's like everybody loses unless somebody stops it. But who's going to take the time to do that? Yeah, that's interesting.
It is. I think it begs an important question. Everyone I think would agree that's a very interesting thing that could happen. Would it be fun all the time, or would it result in situations where players are like, well, that kind of sucked. Now we all like. No one killed it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I was going through those same emotions as I was reading it. But it is definitely an interesting idea. But yeah, it has to be played out to see how it would feel.
And by that same token,
unless if you had a Stargate where you could leave the system right before that happens,
or the last minute
score your coin.
Yeah, that's an interesting. Like, what if there is this creeping quote-unquote end game condition, but it doesn't end the game, it just redrops the whole system, that'd be pretty cool.
Yep. One thing I've wondered, Scott, I'm curious your thoughts on this. I think some of these ideas led me to wonder, like, would we ever consider an anomaly that introduces a new way to win? Like, if you can complete this specific puzzle, you win immediately. Is that something you think would, again, I question, would that be anticlimactic for other people?
It would have to be done very carefully.
Because everybody would have to have a chance to win that way.
Yeah. Well,
you wouldn't want it so that you could, like, as soon as that happens, like, oh, I have no chance of winning now, then that's not fun. But if everybody has a chance of winning from that point, then maybe.
Yeah. Introducing another win condition can be very exciting, especially for a player that didn't think they were on track to win before, and that can be a great thing. You just don't want someone who's been just crushing their highly strategic, plan to be like, oh, come on, I did this for nothing. So it's delicate balance, but it can be fun when it's done right.
All right. Silver Lightning was our contest winner for the Trials and Tools expansion pack. And he had a very interesting idea here.
Yeah, I did like this.
So basically, if I summarize correctly, a deck of cards, chevrons, they're the things that lock the gate as it's spinning, and then the chevrons lock in on those 7 symbols, right? And so there'd be a card representing each one of these 7 chevrons. And basically, you're going to randomly draw one secretly and put it in an envelope. And that's I think, thematically, it's like that's the 7th symbol that you're looking for. You're trying to figure it out, which was the point of the whole first movie, if I remember correctly. But now the remaining ones are spread out among the planets. And so you can go to the different planets, and while you're there, you can inspect the cards that are there, so you know which symbol it's not. But you've got to see enough of them before you can start to deduce which symbol it probably is or may be.
So it's like Clue.
It is
a little bit
very simplified, but yep.
Right, like one dimension of it.
Yep. Yeah, I think Scott, you said earlier that you really like that kind of hidden deduction, as did I when I read this.
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting overlap with the game's current system, because I can imagine you've got this other concern now, trying to kind of deduce what's in the envelope, and so according to this new game you're playing here, you'd want to visit as many planets as possible, as quickly as possible, but that could go slightly counter to what your strategy was beforehand, and would force you to traverse the whole system, which is tricky to do. So I just think it has the potential to have some interesting overlaps with the normal gameplay.
Yep. All right. I think the rest of this was all just some mechanics around that. Yeah, and so basically, once you want, you can try to open the gate. You explain which symbol was the secret one. If you were wrong, you can never attempt again. But if you were right, then, this could be one of those questions, like, do you gain 20 credits, or do you just instantly win, or whatever?
But, I mean, we were just bringing that up. I am actually, my instinct is to go much more towards something like gaining 20 credits, because it could win you the game,
right,
but it doesn't necessarily, and the points that you've scored in other ways still matter,
Right, exactly. Yep, I felt the same. All right, this is our game, Robinson. No, it's not. All right, Richard Chandler. Love the Stargate. Would like to see special dice with gate symbols on them for dialing purposes. So, Darren, you were mentioning rolling dice earlier. I thought you were talking about this idea, which is another way to do it, where the dice actually have different symbols on them, and so again, you're trying to get some combination of symbols.
Although that is another one we could play with, like, instead of just trying to roll to get a very specific combination and you win, it could be that when you roll the dice, every combination gets you something. We have a card, the reference card, and maybe you can kind of like a King of Tokyo, you can choose to re-roll a little bit or something like that. Like you get a certain number of re-rolls, but whatever it comes out in the end, gets you something. Or maybe it could even have a bad effect if But using dice could always fun to roll some dice.
Yeah, in that King of Tokyo kind of way. That's very cool.
I'm a huge fan of that Yahtzee type mechanic.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, Pat.
Especially if we get to use the really cool symbols on the dice.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
All right. Pat likes all these ideas. Wants to see 2 or 3 of them. All right, moving on.
Well, let's just Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Let's do it.
I think some people were a little confused about that we were taking just general ideas as opposed to specific Stargate.
Yeah.
Sure. So I'm going to skip over ones that are just clearly not Stargate at the moment.
Although I do like it. First of all, the Vogon Constructor Fleet is an awesome reference.
Oh, yeah.
So credit for that. But I like the idea that something might happen when a certain number of demand cubes are used. I think, and this could be a note for other people as they generate just ideas for contests. Essentially, those are the closest thing we have to sort of a tracker of time in the game.
Yeah.
So when is the game halfway done? Well, this is the closest way you could kind of mark that, right? So having any effect you might imagine be triggered by demand cube use is something you could really work with.
Agreed.
Yeah.
All right, we got wormholes to other universes. Can always make a wormhole to the Gamma Quadrant. Absolutely true. All right, Thomas was following up on his earlier idea. This is the one where he wanted to teach the people on the planets how to use their technology to kind of overthrow the tyranny. Now, I don't know if this is a cultural thing. This W4 dice. I think what he means is 4-sided dice, which are by definition pyramids.
Yeah.
Or in most 4-sided dice.
That would be fun, just to.
I love the idea of the pyramid ships being represented by 4-sided dice. And the side, awesome. The number that's up means something. Maybe it's what planet they're going to attack or what player they're. I don't know, but love that idea of like a pyramid representation.
Mm-hmm. Another great, just like design tip too for anybody who's working in these contests. One of the things we were really excited about in Drop Drive, after working with Dungeon Drop's inevitable cube shape, was that we don't have to use cubes.
Yeah.
We because there's not that blind draw out of the box suddenly. We can suddenly be open to all kinds of shapes. So I love people using some different shapes.
Agreed. Yeah, and he's got some rules in here for attacking the Gould pyramid ships, and get some penalties and so on.
Sure. Awesome.
All right, then Alex wanted to pull in Farscape, and there is an interesting crossover, and he rightly linked here to the YouTube video. So in the last 2 seasons of Stargate SG-1, they brought on Ben Broder and I forget what her name is. They brought on those 2 actors from Farscape, and they became the 2 of the main actors in the last 2 seasons of Stargate. They also completely changed up the enemies. The Gould were gone, and now there's these Ori, and then the show ended. So it was a little weird. But they actually they crossed over in like this like dream sequence. They crossed over and actually showed those 2 actors on like a pseudo episode of Farscape. So it truly was a crossover.
Wow.
It was wacky. Anyway, wormhole weapons, exits into your enemy from the surface.
I do kind of love the idea of a wormhole weapon, like a thing. This could be a ship upgrade. Like it's something that you could potentially attack something with that redrops it. Or something like that. It's kind of cool.
Agreed. And then living ships, which is what in Farscape, the Leviathans were living ships. Of course, in a way, our Brineborn ships almost look like that already.
Yeah, true.
And I think, that was the last of it.
Very, very cool.
So, all in all, what I took away from this was that there were, while maybe for the class, community design class for Dungeon Drop, we might have had 50 submissions because the rules were so crystal clear. It had to be a 1-sentence like ability, and come up with anything that it was very easy to rip out. We have far fewer here, but they are very diverse, very thematic, and I was just in love with these responses here, and they're very well thought out.
Yeah, they're great ideas, and I think you're right about that. What I'm kind of hoping is that as people see how this is going, they start to wrap their head around just what it is we're trying to do. I think it is hard in some ways, as exciting as it is, the anomalies, because they're so big and open. I know it can be a little intimidating. What do you design for that? But hopefully, as we go with this, people will see. You don't have to necessarily worry so much about all the details, but just throw out cool ideas, and we'll work with it.
And listen, if we were to set out ourselves to make a Stargate anomaly module, we'd come up with something. But you guys have absolutely come up with ideas that I would never have thought of.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what's so cool.
Yeah.
Yep. And this happened even in the smaller box of Dungeon Drop. This would constantly happen, right? Somebody would throw out something, and even deep into the expansion, we'd be like, how have we not thought of that? So this is, I'm sure, only the beginning. Yeah.
Indeed. All right. Any I think I had one other. Yeah, I wanted to recap all the anomalies that are kind of known at the moment, just for people's reference. But before I do that, any parting thoughts on the Stargate anomaly in particular, based on what we've seen, or any other thoughts?
Well, keep going down bunch of different ideas like into more depth. But I don't know. I think it's a cool universe to use as an inspiration for sure.
Yeah, and when we talked, a little bit before this, I know you're saying we could merge them all into, the anomalies can be pretty big, so we could potentially get more than one in here, and I think that might be true. But there are some, as we talk it out, there's some definite different directions here as well. So
yes,
we'll have to have a good chat about what we present the community with.
No, you're absolutely right, because there's probably 3 or 4 different puzzles that were just introduced. One puzzle could be hidden cards that you're trying to deduce. Another puzzle was with dice. Another puzzle was with dials, right? And so ultimately we're only gonna have one puzzle. We're not gonna have 4 puzzles. So we'll still have some things to decide on as a group. What I more so meant was things like the puddle jumper. I think that's just a perfect example of like, great, that'll also be in there as 1 or 2 ship upgrade cards. Super easy, throw them in. Just enriches the whole thing. Okay, so to recap, and I sent out one of the updates recently was called Anomaly Report, and I'll do that every few days. But just want to keep everyone, because I know there were some questions. Some of the tiers include what we're calling the complete set of anomaly packs. That's what we're talking about here. This is the first of the 8. 4 of them are going to be done in collaboration with you, the community, and 4 of them are going to be more from us internally. We might still ask for ideas on those, but just in the interest of optimization and efficiency. So that's the complete set of 8 anomaly packs. So those are included in 2 of the tiers, the 2 upper tiers in Kickstarter. And you can also just add that as an add-on. Now those are separate. That's 8. That's separate from the 3 that are in the base game. There's 3 standard anomalies in the base game. And that's separate from the limited promo pack, which is the Death Dodecahedron. That's the metal Death Star. And so that's our limited promo pack. And that's separate from the 2 anomalies that are in Shipping Shenanigans.
That's right.
So all in, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8. We have 14 anomalies that are already kind of guaranteed to be in this game. And not for nothing, we have other stretch goals that we hopefully will eventually get to and unlock. So there's so much opportunity. But even with just what we have planned that's already out in the open, there's already, what number did I say? 14? 16? 14. So there's a lot of good anomaly content that's going to be coming out of all this.
And of course, as we learned with Dungeon Drop 2, each additional one amplifies the number of possible combinations. Of course, one thing that's super exciting. I was mentioning that before because you can have these really unique kind of stories. I think I'm hoping to see kind of play out in the game, made up of these combinations. At the same time, of course, as designers, we're going to have to be carefully tracking all the possible overlaps of the different anomalies.
Of course.
So that will be a fun process, I hope.
Yes. Maybe there's just more of a like in programming, we just have a catch-all error state. It's like if you enter an infinite loop,
Nope. We're going to design it so well, Jason, that does not have to happen.
Hey, especially now that we're kind of coming to an end, I just saw a pop-up of Unfiltered Gamer.
Oh.
Is having a tonight they're doing a playthrough of Drop Drive.
Oh, it's tonight the live stream. I knew he was going to be doing it. Awesome.
It just popped up as we were finishing. So that was
very
cool.
Nice.
That would have been a shame if we were doing this at the same time.
Yes. Well, let's get off of this. No, we were done anyway. So thank you all so much for sticking with us and joining us on this. So exciting. This journey is just so unique, and I think for the 3 of us, at least for me, and I know Darren, we're more sci-fi geeks than we are fantasy geeks. So like our we were all in on Dungeon Drop, but man, this is just like unleashing new creative insanity energies from us.
Yep.
Cool. Well, this has been awesome.
So Great. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you all.
We'll
have a great night
online.